in the second point of the Agile Manifesto, and which is working software over comprehensive documentation. And last time we covered simplicity of design and simplicity of architecture, simplicity of UX. And I just want to add one more thing here. We talked about MVP and small batch sizes, which is something like an MVF, which is the minimum viable feature or minimum viable test, right? So in simplicity also, we want to keep in mind that, recently we experienced this with a client that by just changing the strings on the screen, they change the user strings, just message strings, they were able to increase 15% conversion for a customer. So this is where simplicity comes in. Sometimes you can get very good results from very little work. At least from the development side was little work, but I'm sure from a product owner side they had to do a lot of work. Okay, so coming to today's topic, which is visibility. So again, as we know, Scrum and Agile, they recommend these boards. They're called, we call them Scrum boards. And the whole idea of the board is to, have things visible. And for example, recently we talked about, one team struggled with getting things done. Basically, their burn down was more like a straight line. And somehow, the board, when you look at the board, you should be able to see progress. Um, you don't need a project manager because anybody who walks into the office, actually, if this is, and physical boards are actually better than Jira boards or anything, any electronic system, but distributed teams have their own challenges. But ideally, if it's a co-located team, you have the board there and people can walk in and they can look at the board and nobody has to ask how the project is going. It's very obvious, right? And why is this so important? Somehow human beings are very conscious of how they look in front of others. And for example, there are like 3 teams and they all have their boards on the walls, let's say in the hall. And so every team, it's natural that every team would want that, their board looks the best and sort of shows the best progress and everything. So, and at an individual level also, I would want that, my tickets are moving through to done rather than, just hanging around in progress or blocked or something. So, um, Jeff Sutherland in his book, doing twice the work in half the time, he mentions that he was given responsibility of the L2 company. He was in the army and he was given responsibility of the L2 company, and the L2 company for decades had come last in marching in drills, you know, um and and he was given the responsibility to improve that, and he was he was already part of that company, and what he started doing was that they would have drill practice, regularly. I don't know whether it was every day, but it was like maybe 2-3 times a week. And what he would do, he started doing is that he would, uh, you know, um, on the notice board every night of the drill he would put the updates. So the update was like Charlie, stuck his gun in the ground, and John was out of sync and stuff like that. So it's in a way it's negative that you're calling out people that somebody dropped the ball. So I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but it worked. It worked in the sense that L2 companies started improving, their scores improved, and lo and behold, they actually finished number one in that year, which was very surprising to everyone because even if they had finished, let's say number 10, it would have been huge progress because they were always the last out of I don't know how many companies, but to finish number one was something exceptional. I'll also like to cover burn down charts. So these are some of us use burn up charts. Burn down is simpler in my head, at least, because there's only one line to look at and it should come down. If it's not coming down, there's something wrong with the sprint. So either you're blocked, or the stories are too big, or they don't have good acceptance criteria, or the developers are on holiday. Anything could, but it's a very, on a daily basis, it gives visibility to all the stakeholders that how it's happening. So a combination of the scrum board and the burn down is a very good way to track your sprint, to have visibility within the sprint. Right, so I will stop here and then take questions.